pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the April 19, 2022 regular meeting. I'll accept it. First, we got to do roll call, I guess.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Wick?
Yes.
Sturgeon?
Yes.
Bruns?
Yes.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. General discussion, citizens. We have time for citizens to stand up and make comments. I don't see any regular citizens in the crowd.
Any regular, if you got some earrings.
We got some odd ones. So we'll move on to the Thumbs Up Award. Brian, do you have anything for the Thumbs Up Award?
No, pass.
Pass. Mark? I've got a couple. One, thumbs up to the Floyd Valley Hospital for the groundbreaking today on their latest edition. And second of all, thumbs up to Todd Lancaster on a life well lived. He really made an impact on his community and the organization of the YMCA, and I appreciate his efforts, and may he rest in peace.
I will echo that with Todd. He was a good friend, a good coffee mate on a daily basis, and I agree he did a lot for the YMCA and he did a lot for our community, so he'll be missed.
Mark?
Same comments, but that pass.
Okay. Mike, do you have anything?
I'll pass this time.
Okay. Moving on to the consent items. We've got an approval of the April 5, 2022 minutes, list of bills, monthly financial statement, consumer confidence report for the Lamar's Water Department, request to close street by the Plymouth County Cyclists, a request to close the street for Crazy Days, and renewal of the liquor license for Bachers, and the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funding. Any questions about any of those in particular, or anything that you want to pull out?
Rich, do you want to say anything about the water report at all? Rich, would you say something about
There you go. You ask a dumb question.
Well, like I say, it's about the same as last year. We are in compliance with everything. Our lead and copper, we do every 3 years. We had one that was above the limits. We still pass because of the 90 percentile. What happens whenever one doesn't pass, we have to notify the individual, let them know, give them information on what problems they could have in that. But that's pretty much about it. But everything looks good.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Now, the next lead and copper in 2024, that might be a different story with the new regulations in that, but we'll deal with that when that happens. They're saying now with the new lead and copper regulations, 40% of the cities that have passed before will fail now.
Okay, so what's that mean to the city? Or is it too early to say?
They haven't really determined that yet, but we will have to have some kind of a action plan if that does happen, which consists of looking at figuring out how we're going to get the lead service lines replaced.
So, okay, so would that be a city cost or would that be a homeowner's cost?
That's a good question, considering the service lines are owned by the homeowners. So that's what the government doesn't have a clue how to deal with that. It looks like there might be some money coming to assist with that, but nothing really yet.
Is there an age group of houses that are businesses? Because I would think that the very, very old would have been replaced.
No.
No?
I would say, I I would say probably 70% of the service lines that get replaced probably have a lead pigtail on them.
Okay.
So there is quite a few. One of the requirements that DEP is requiring of the city, the water department is to have a inventory of what we have for service lines. It's kind of hard to do whenever they're 6 foot in the ground.
Right.
And you can tell what water line's coming into the service line's coming in the house, but not what's underground. And you can have a copper line come in the house, but have a lead pigtail at the curb box. So without digging that stuff up,
Right.
it's hard to tell.
Are
So
there
we have
tests
to do
that
a best
homeowners-
guess.
Are there tests that homeowners can do on their own?
For lead solder, yes, not for lead service lines.
Okay, no, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Rich.
Motion to approve consent items 1 through 8.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, yeah, roll call.
Yes.
There's a resolution on ARPA funding.
Okay.
Roll call.
On the ARPA?
And before we move ahead, I just will mention on that quick, basically, I have this resolution in here, for information for you guys. The first reporting is due here at the end of the month, and so I wanted you guys to have the figures of what we've received so far, what we're anticipating receiving in total after we get our next round of funding. And then in the future, we can designate projects. It's not required that we have projects designated here at this first reporting. We have until the end of 2024 to do it. So I wanted this resolution in here as backup of council. You said it's okay to move ahead with the standard allowance, and then we'll choose the projects.
I thought if we were under 10 million, we didn't need to designate projects.
You still have to designate a project. It's just, you just give a summary of the project instead of more detailed information.
Okay.
So you still have to show which projects you're using it for.
I'll amend my resolution, or my motion to approve consent items 1 through 7 and number 8 as a resolution 2213.
Second that for you. Okay. We have a motion and a second. We'll take roll call.
Donlin?
Yes.
Wick?
Yes.
Sturgeon?
Yes.
Bruns?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Motion carried. We'll move on to the action items. First one is one that was tabled last meeting, 24th Street Southwest Bridge repair. And this is an agreement with Schemmer and Associates for the final plans to repair the 24th Street Bridge. The bridge suffered damage from a fire on February 12th, 2022. Council tabled the action as of the last meeting. So,
Darren Brown from Schemmer is on the phone. If anybody has specific questions in regards to what is in his report.
Darren, this is Councilman Goodchild. I'm the one that tabled it last meeting. In your opinion, how crucial is this? I am definitely not at your level. I'm nowhere near your level of expertise on bridges or any other structure, but I did go under and I saw the one pier that looked to be the most soot damaged by the fire. I didn't really see any melting and lack of calling or anything else. And I read through your report and it says they have a much higher flash point. Those boots, I'm going to say they're orange or pink. It just appears to me, this is first part of my question is, it appears to me like, first of all, you're recommending replacing all those boots at $7,000 a piece, and what I'm going to call the north 3 piers don't even appear to even smell smoke, let alone be damaged. That's the first question. The second question is that rubber drainage boot for lack of professional terms, that goes underneath that expansion joint, generally, don't they pretty much fill up with road debris and not function all that well anyway? So I'm just kind of curious as to the necessity of this versus maybe putting it on a let's keep an eye on it schedule for a few years. I'll shut up now.
Right. Those are two great questions. I'll first start off with addressing the one about the bearing pads. And I want to do that by explaining what the purpose of the bearing pads are. So on these long bridges, those bearing pads are simply not to support vertical load, the weight of the deck and the girders. They are also to allow horizontal movement, because as these structures move from the cold of the winter to the heat of the summer, they will grow and shrink. This particular bridge, about 1.5 inches on each side, it will move. So those bearing pads have to allow the bridge beams to slide on them, not simply just support them.
Okay.
So in some of the photos I took, you'll see on top of that red disc pad is a large plate. On top of that plate is a stainless steel PTF surface that allows the sliding to happen. And part of that PTF is made of glass as well as polycarbonate. When it heats up in a situation like a fire, it does break down, and then it starts to become brittle. And the issue with that is when you have brittleness in there, it'll start grinding away those plates and quit functioning like they should. So I don't want to get too far down in the weeds here, but when those stop functioning, the forces start going into your concrete and breaking that up and potentially breaking the bolts off that are holding it on there.
Okay,
So
can I stop you there? Can I stop you there for just a second? And that is, I did see that. It's a very thin piece in between that plate, right? Because you had a actor of initials. What is the initials you had on that plate you're talking about?
I didn't hear the last part of the question. That we said initials on the plate.
Yeah, well, in your diagram, it's that really thin piece in between that I really can't see. Correct?
Yes, it is. So,
Okay.
yeah, if you guys are looking at the report, it is that very thin plate called the stainless steel /PTFE interface.
You bet. You bet. Okay, go ahead, buddy. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, not a problem. So I reached out to the fabricator of these plates as well, and I sent them the photos, and they conclude as well that it looks like one of them looks like it's completely missing, like it has basically melted away, and that was the one closest to the fire.
Okay.
The next two around it, on the edges, does appear to be unraveling a little bit. The ones further away from it, they cannot tell if there's damage directly under it, but he said in no way would any manufacturer supply a piece of paper that says we certify these for 100% use.
Okay.
So that kind of leaves an open liability hole there if you let the ones out on the outer edge continue to go. What I would say is, based on their input, that instead of all 6 of them being replaced, that perhaps we could keep an eye on the 3 of them, but I do believe the 3 closest to the fire definitely have been damaged and will need replaced, and will start to cause some further damage to the structure if they're not replaced within the next 1 to 2 years.
Okay.
And then your second question about the draping, the diaphragm underneath there that catches the stormwater runoff. It is true that those do fill up with debris. Now, they're supposed to be cleaned out on a routine basis to allow that water to flow. But the main purpose for that exposing all your girders to those chemical salts that will definitely lead to problems down the road.
Okay, that makes total sense, Darren. And as far as, I would support, if we move forward with this, I would support replacing all of those piers and not just, because we'd only save, what, 21,000 on three out of the 6? So that would be kind of silly. So I appreciate the explanations, actually. It helps me a lot, so thank you very much.
I would also just like to know, if we did 3 and then held off on 3, would we have some included expense in the future, because you have to lift
I'm
the
sure
thing
you
out,
would.
so
I'm sure
the
you
actual coming out and lifting it again, I think it wouldn't be at that $7,000 price.
Absolutely.
One additional comment I would make is, if you go ahead with the repairs, I would suggest having a letting in the summer, but allow the contractor to, a 6 or 8 month window to come in later on. This is a type of repair that can be done in the cold weather. It does not need to be done in the summer. And right now what I've been seeing with bridge contracts is when you have a letting and you say, hey, we need you to start right away, you have some contractors that are too busy, they're not going to get there, or others that are going to bid it really high because they can't get there right away. So I think you'll get a better bidding as well as more bidders if you allow this work to happen, let's say, later this fall or next spring, or a longer window of opportunity for those bidders.
Excellent. Jason, on your estimate, I thought there was an error in this estimate.
Yeah, I was wrong, I looked at it wrong. The total of repairs, so, well, I guess it doesn't show up in this agreement. It shows up in his, in Darren's report. He has a cost breakdown in there.
It's 128 what?
125,868, but that also includes his estimated engineering cost. So his estimate for the repairs is 114,420.
Oh, okay. Okay. Are you pretty good with that number if we had followed your advice on time? Because I totally get what you're saying. If it's hungry work or busy work, I get it. So, are you pretty comfortable with that, Darren?
Yeah. So the number that is on there is based on bid lettings over the past year. We have been seeing, due to supply chain issues, some estimates being under by about 15%.
Okay.
So that would be another reason why, if you allowed contractors some time, they could order materials well in advance and try to avoid that. But I'm fairly good with this number. If you want to be conservative on your end, I would probably maybe add a 10% to it, just to be safe.
Will the actual physical bridge traffic, I mean, obviously, if you're jacking it up, that's a silly question. How long would it be closed?
Typically, they can replace 2 of these a day. So I would say a minimum of 3 days that you would not want traffic on there. They could replace the expansion joint diaper at the same time. But if they need a minimum of 3, I would say it's probably going to be closed a week.
A week, okay.
Any further questions for Aaron?
Chief, you were at the fire. Well, how would you describe the fire itself when you arrived?
We had fire up through that boot and through the grates, so I concur without being an engineer with what Darren's telling you. It had a severe amount of heat.
Okay.
And we do salt that bridge a lot because of the length of it. It's very slippery. So I just, with what he's saying with that boot replacement to catch that product so we don't ruin it in the future, I concur with all of that.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Thank you.
Motion to approve an agreement of professional services with Schumer Associates, Inc., with fees not to exceed $10,155 for 24th Street Southwest Bridge repair.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks for those explanations, Darren.
Yes.
I was fairly skeptical, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bolton and Menk, Inc. Service Agreement for the Wells North Ice Cream Plant Forcemain. We've got an agreement with Bolton and Menk that is attached to provide pre-designed phase services for a new wastewater force main from Wells North Ice Cream Plant to the industrial splitter building at the municipal plant. This agreement will produce route, schedule, and preliminary project costs. The Public Utilities Committee has been meeting regularly to discuss many issues concerning the city's wastewater system. One topic has been the ability to better isolate and redirect industrial waste away from the municipal plant and therefore reduce the load it handles. Currently, waste from the Wells North Ice Cream Plant flows directly to the municipal plant. Currently, 31% of the municipal plant design load is attributed to the North Ice Cream Plant. All other industrial waste, Wells and Kemp's, has the ability to be directed to the industrial plant.
Doug, you want to talk about this a minute?
Can I say no? Rich tried.
Just kind of explain what it is we're doing.
Well, that's the map, I put a map.
I saw the map,
there
and I-
today, that's the route.
But I know the route.
So in basic terms, we want to take that waste from Wells North, go directly to our industrial splitter building, and eventually take it to the 3 West Industrial Plant.
So we are separating it. It's right now residential is what it is.
It's
And
mixed
so-
with residential.
So right now, we're making our industrial waste measurable on one side and our, okay.
The problem is there's different ways of treating industrial high-strength waste and low-strength residential waste. The easiest way I can explain it is if you take a gallon of pure milk and give it to me and say, treat